You've just been updated from the PlayStation 2 to just about everything else! Now that you get the basic idea of a remake, what does a remaster do, you may ask? Well, nowadays it is simply a means of getting old software to run on newer hardware, utilizing the same assets, code, and files that made up the original game. Again, a remake creates wholly new assets, with little to no usage of the original code. Getting back to Pixel Pursuit and his two definition combos, we have the Simple Remaster and the Remaster Plus. With the Simple Remaster, it is, again, getting old software to run on new hardware. Though in the process, this software is able to take advantage of the better hardware. For example, we can take a 4:3 aspect ratio game that's running in the 480p resolution and update it to use the 16:9 aspect ratio in high definition resolutions. Native resolutions, not upscaled, better sound quality, and even an online leaderboard, if they feel like it. But aside from those things, not much has changed fundamentally about the core game itself. Again, just old software enhanced by new hardware. With the Remaster Plus, however, it is actually very similar to the replacement remake. Both are on more modern platforms and are more accessible when compared to the original, on its original platform, or platforms. For you see, these remasters make quality of life changes to the original game so as to create a definitive version of said game. Fundamentally, the big difference between a Remaster Plus and a replacement remake is that the remake creates everything from scratch, whereas the Remaster Plus has to work with the original assets. With that said, however, let's cast our minds back to the early 90s and 80s, where more often than not, getting the experience of a game on another platform often involved recreating the game entirely, believe it or not. For example, it only requires a quick glance at Pac-Man on the Atari 2600 to see that it is not quite the same as the original arcade version of Pac-Man. It should be noted that while the modern definitions of these conversions would classify them as either remakes or demakes, demakes being the opposite of remakes in that they are games being remade on worse hardware, were more so acting as quote-unquote ports for the time due to the impossible task at the time of creating arcade-perfect ports, both on home console and even computer devices. The result is gamers calling these conversions for the time ports, as that is what they were made to represent. The more modern version of what a remake would be wouldn't be until the days of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Genesis, with such products such as Super Mario All-Stars. In this case, we have remakes of the original Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 2, often referred to as The Lost Levels, and Super Mario Bros. 3, all of which were games made for the Nintendo Entertainment System being remade to take advantage of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System's technically superior hardware. On one last note, I should clarify what a port is in the relationship between a remake and a remaster. Unlike either of those definitions, a port is simply getting one kind of software onto another kind of hardware, boasting no significant changes from one platform to the other. Except for perhaps technical performance and graphical fidelity and frame rate and all those sort of technical aspects, but fundamentally it is still the same game. For depending on the platforms in question, you can either 1. Take advantage of the new hardware that is out, 2. Make the game with less of the next-gen features, which results in the same game being more available on multiple platforms. or even 3, which is make an entirely different version of the game for technically weaker platforms, while also at the same time making a version for next-gen consoles. It probably goes without saying, but the third option in particular is the least explored option, with the second option often being the most preferred due to the higher accessibility. But yeah, a port is just the same game on different platforms with minor changes. That's all I have to say for this mission. Check the description for your challenge, and I'll see you next time with something else. Bye!